There's a strange tension in America right now, a quiet contradiction that almost everyone feels but can't quite explain. Stores are full, highways are packed, people are traveling, eating out, upgrading phones, and filling stadiums like nothing is wrong. On the surface, it looks like prosperity. But if you talk to real families, they'll tell you a very different story. Because behind the appearance of wealth lies an invisible pressure, a financial gravity pulling harder every year. And Americans are asking the same question. How can the country feel richer, while I feel poorer? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, this is where we break down the financial forces shaping your daily life. The ones you feel but rarely see explained. Today's topic matters because it's happening to every generation at the same time. Millennials, Gen Z, Gen X, Boomers, all of them are asking the same thing. If the economy is growing, why am I struggling? We're told unemployment is low. We're told the stock market is high. We're told GDP is booming. So why does life feel more expensive, more exhausting, and more fragile than ever? There's a strange contradiction unfolding across America, one that feels almost surreal when you step back and try to make sense of it. You look around and see packed restaurants every weekend, airports bursting at the seams, luxury SUVs rolling through the suburbs, and shopping bags dangling from people's arms like everything is perfectly fine. It almost paints a picture of abundance, a kind of soft, glittering prosperity that suggests the country has never been wealthier. And yet, talk to almost anyone privately, pull them aside, get past the cheerful front, and you'll hear an entirely different story. One rooted in stress, exhaustion, and the sense that every month is a tightrope walked without a safety net. It's as if America is living in two realities at the same time. Outwardly, a country full of spending power and confidence. Inwardly, a nation silently drowning in financial anxiety. To understand how the richest country in the world ended up here, you have to slow down and trace the psychological and economic shifts that have unfolded over the last 3 decades. Changes that didn't happen overnight, but slowly layered onto each other, creating a fragile facade of wealth masking deeper instability. It starts with the evolution of what wealth even means. A few generations ago, wealth was defined by stability, a paid-off home, a reliable income, a pension waiting at the end of your career, enough saved to cover an emergency, and a lifestyle measured in modest comfort rather than constant consumption. Fast forward to today, and the definition has morphed into something more performative, more dependent on appearances. Wealth isn't about stability anymore. It's about how affluent you look. It's about the brand of shoes you wear, the car you lease, the vacations you post, the lifestyle you broadcast. But here's the irony. The louder people try to signal that they're doing well, the more likely it is that they're not. This is because the cost of living, particularly the cost of existing comfortably, has outpaced the income of the average American so dramatically that people have learned to compensate with debt, side hustles, and a kind of forced optimism that hides the cracks. Wages haven't kept up with inflation for years. Even when salaries go up, the increase is devoured by rising rents, groceries, insurance premiums, and utilities long before it ever feels like a raise. Homeownership, once the foundation of wealth building, has drifted further out of reach for the average young American than at any point in modern history. What used to be a realistic milestone at age 25 is now more common at 40, if it happens at all. When prices rise faster than paychecks and the basics become luxuries, the country begins to split between what looks normal and what feels impossible. And yet, in the middle of this struggle, people continue to spend. Not recklessly, not carelessly, but out of a desperate attempt to maintain a sense of normalcy. When life feels chaotic or overwhelming, small comforts, subscriptions, takeout food, small travel breaks, start to feel like necessities. For decades, Americans were conditioned to believe that hardship was temporary and the future would always be better. But the stability that mindset was built on has evaporated. The psychological shift that replaced it is much more complicated. People no longer spend because they're confident. They spend because they're overwhelmed. Consumption has become emotional, a coping mechanism rather than a celebration. Another layer to this contradiction lies hidden in the numbers that get repeated on headlines. The stock market climbs, GDP grows, unemployment hits record lows. Corporate profits grow quarter after quarter. These metrics paint a picture of success, but they only tell the story of the top. The economy can thrive on paper even as millions of individuals feel like they're slipping. Corporations don't need their employees to feel stable. They only need them to keep showing up. And Americans keep showing up because the bills don't stop. The job market may look stable, but workers feel more replaceable than ever, more pressured to meet impossible expectations, and more disconnected from the rewards their labor creates. It's a quiet tension. Everyone feels it, but few talk about it openly. Debt compounds this tension into something more overwhelming. Household debt in the US has quietly hit new all-time highs. Mortgages, car loans, credit card balances, medical bills, and student loans. But the credit card debt is the most revealing, because it exposes the gap between what people earn and what life costs. Americans aren't using credit cards to splurge. They're using them to survive. Groceries, gas, emergency repairs, basic expenses. Debt has become the safety net that wages no longer provide, and as interest rates rise, that safety net turns into a trap. People don't feel poor because they have no money. They feel poor because every dollar they earn is already owed to someone else before it ever lands in their account. What makes this situation even more disorienting is how normalized struggle has become. People no longer expect stability. They expect volatility. They expect prices to rise. They expect rent increases. They expect medical bills to surprise them. They expect to hustle. They expect to feel exhausted. This acceptance of instability is one of the most overlooked psychological shifts in modern America. When constant struggle becomes normal, people stop describing it as struggling. They just call it life. And when everyone around you is experiencing the same stress, it becomes even harder to recognize how abnormal the situation actually is. There's also the cultural layer, one that almost behaves like a shadow economy. Social media has created a culture of comparison that compresses decades of lifestyle differences into a single scroll. A 19-year-old sees a 40-year-old entrepreneur's success and feels like they're already behind. A new parent struggling with daycare costs sees luxury family vacations and assumes they're failing. A couple renting a modest apartment sees influencers buying second homes and wonders if they missed a crucial step. The comparison isn't realistic, but it shapes how people perceive their own standard of living. When the bar for normal keeps rising, even comfort begins to feel like inadequacy. But here's the twist that truly explains this contradiction. Americans aren't actually poorer. They're stretched thinner. Income is higher than it has ever been. Wealth is higher. Home values are higher. Technology has made life easier in countless ways. But the essentials, housing, education, healthcare, transportation, have become so disproportionately expensive that the gap between income and the cost of a dignified life has never been wider. People look richer because the visible parts of life, phones, clothes, cars, have become cheaper, while the invisible parts, housing, insurance, debt, have become crushingly expensive. So the illusion persists. The country looks wealthy, while its citizens feel the opposite. The final piece of the puzzle is safety, financial and emotional. In the past, families had buffers, savings accounts, pensions, unions, long-term employment, affordable homes, predictable expenses. Today, most buffers have eroded. Savings rates are low. Job security is a myth. Medical emergencies wipe out families in a single moment. Economic shocks spread faster than people can prepare. The safety nets have frayed, and most Americans walk through life without a margin for error. This creates a constant low-grade stress that doesn't show up in economic data, but shapes how people experience their lives. You can appear stable while still feeling one unexpected bill away from everything falling apart. So when you combine rising costs, stagnant wages, modern expectations, cultural comparison, psychological pressure, and the disappearance of financial safety nets, you get a country that looks prosperous on the surface but feels anxious underneath. It's not that Americans are doing worse. It's that the gap between what life costs and what people can comfortably afford has never been wider. This is the paradox of modern America. People are wealthier than ever, but stability is rarer than ever. And when stability disappears, prosperity loses its meaning. In the end, the real story isn't about income, inflation, or spending. It's about the emotional experience of living in a society where the future feels more uncertain than the past, where people are asked to project confidence while quietly navigating personal financial storms, and where doing everything right still doesn't guarantee peace. America feels richer because the metrics say so. Americans feel poorer because their lives say otherwise. And until those two realities match, the contradiction will only grow. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today. I really appreciate you watching. If you found this useful, a like would be fantastic, and subscribing helps me keep creating content you'll hopefully enjoy. Please share your experiences and any questions in the comments. I always try to read and respond. Your support keeps this channel going. Until our next video, take care.